What's up, seniors? Let's get right down to it. How do you put together the best list of schools to apply to? I'm about to hook you up with the secret formula, and it's much simpler than you think. Here's what you do. Stick with the rankings from US News and World Report and devise your list based on a range of schools categorized reach, fit, and safety. You've heard me say that before. I want you to go to these rankings, put together your list, but look past these things. Look past, don't pay attention to how much it costs. Look past whether or not they have your major. Look past where it's located. Look past whether or not you have family or friends close. Look past whether or not your family and friends recommended it. And look past whether or not you feel you'll be welcome there. Now, you might be thinking, Mr. Lane, you are crazy. Those are all the reasons why you should pick a school. So let me take a moment to explain my wacky logic here. Just bear with me. So let me start here. So here's a great anecdote. For the last 5 years, approximately 3,000 students from the country of China enroll every year as freshmen at U of I in Champaign. That's 6,500 miles from their homes. And you can assume that the vast majority have never set foot on American soil before they got there. And you can definitely assume at least half of them were not even fluent in English, right? And I can tell you for certain, each one of them, because they're international students, paid the full price of attendance to go. That's $65,000 a year. That's 260 grand. Why? Why would they do that? Why would they come so far? Simple. Because the families and those students understand the value and prestige that a diploma from the U of I is worth. They know that if they make this sacrifice, they come all the way over here, it's not just going to change their lives. It's going to transform the lives of their children. And it's going to transform the lives of their children's children. In short, they just made the sacrifice for 4 years to change the trajectory of their next 40 years. The average Illinois graduate will earn between $4 to $5 million in their lifetime. So if I told you you had to go somewhere for 4 years to earn $5 million over time, would you stop and say, well, what's the temperature like? Would you ask, well, is it prejudiced around there? Now, you certainly might ask those questions, but most of you will ultimately say, well, we're going to work that out. Okay. And even if you're not into money, remember, it's also about respect. When you attend a school that's in the top 1 to 10% of all American colleges, and that's like the top 500, that means that the vast majority of people you will encounter will not only know of your school, they're going to have a great deal of respect for that school. And by extension, they're going to have a great respect level for you just because you went there. This is going to automatically open up doors for you. And just in the same way that prejudice and the negative type still exists today, we've seen that with George Floyd and so many things, that type of positive prejudice also exists for college graduates. Remember, George Bush was considered the dumbest president in American history. He was a C student, but where'd he go? He went to Yale. But bottom line, he was a Yale graduate, so nobody cared about how dumb he was. This is why rankings are so important. Remember, President Trump, he's a graduate of Ivy League, UPenn. That's why rankings are so important. Here's the next reason that's specific to the class of 2021. Please listen. In case you haven't noticed, we're living in a global pandemic that has essentially ruined the American economy. Okay, people aren't talking about it. That's the truth. 1 out of 6 working Americans are now unemployed. Have you thought about what that's going to mean for you, right? This means that in about 5 years, even if we find the antidote tomorrow, we're going to be lucky to even be halfway out of this mess as a country. That means that the job market is going to be super competitive. That means that if you want to go to law school, med school, get an MBA, there will be more applicants than ever because there won't be any jobs. So people are going to stay in school. Now, what does this have to do with rankings? When you apply for a job, when you apply to med school, law school, MBA, when you apply for a small business loan, when you ask people to invest in your startup 5 years from now, what's the first thing they're going to look at? What's the first thing they're going to ask? Where did you go to school? If you want me to invest in your company and I see you went to Illinois State, a school that is highly ranked, that I know of, I'm familiar with, I'm going to be a lot more willing and have a greater frame of reference than if you went to Aurora University. Good school, but not as high ranked and not as well known. If your resume says Northwestern, it doesn't matter what your major was. It's going to be a lot more eye-catching than if you graduated from North Dakota State and you're in that major. That's just the truth. Okay? So I'm going to stop there so you guys can kind of talk that through for a moment.